Go ahead. Yeah.
Hi, thanks for that, Graham. It's nice that you've got a nice neutral position there and you're going off statistics. So just a little bit, I'm involved with island nations all over the world, and my job, after 35 years in energy, is to deliver the best cost-effective method of energy on islands around the world. And yeah, oil is best, it's the cheapest, gas is cheaper. However, one thing I would like to put is there is a place for everything. There is an energy mix that we have to adopt. Moving away from carbon fuels, we'll never move away from it. That's the reality I see with working with 22 governments around the world currently. However, with innovation, we are at a crossroads where we should be embracing innovation to fix these problems. Now, I can fix problems. I can put a nuclear reactor here in 7 years, part of Rolls-Royce. Cost £80 billion to do that. Okay. However, that's a total price, and that's even to put the land back to where it was in 80 years' time. The total amount of radioactive activity is equal to about 1.5 litres of radioactivity. You know, we do this on a daily basis. You've got hydrogen. Okay, moving hydrogen fuel cells, we've deployed or deploying 7 big megawatt fields at the moment. The challenge is producing the fuel. Moving fuel to island nations like Jersey costs a lot of money. However, if you produce hydrogen on site through clever technologies, electrolysis, you know, you're starting to compete with the prices of oil and the prices of gas. Tidal, let's look at tidal. You know, there's some great technologies out there. Now, people can shake their heads at tidal, all right, and we get that. However, the key thing is you must get your cost per megawatt under £1 million development fee. All right, there are 2 companies at the moment are doing this. Look at Isle of Skye, the gentleman who's not disagreeing over there. They run Isle of Skye airport off hydrogen. You know, population are using hydrogen, and they take it out to seawater. That technology is there. You know, we live it every single day. So my argument, rather than having 2 extremes, you've got the believers, the non-believers, and this is right. You know, statistics are incredibly important, but we should be coming to the middle, embracing the technologies that are out there, and spending all that money in what I do on a daily basis to make this world a better place, a better, fairer mix, because energy equals prosperity. Fact. And I will stand up and do that because that's what I do. And that's where the money should be put. You know, I speak all around the world on this subject. It can be done. And your solar, I disagree with you on solar. I absolutely disagree and I disagree that our lovely fields should ever be blocked with all this solar. I agree with that. But solar, it can be used in different ways to create ammonia, which creates the hydrogen that allows us to move hydrogen and ammonia around the world at a rate that we can then use the electrolysis process to create hydrogen. Only byproduct is water. 2 weeks ago, I was at a conference, actually an Eisteddfod in Anglesey in Wales. The whole Eisteddfod was being run by hydrogen. And do you know how we refreshed ourselves? With fresh water produced from the machines for all the kids playing around. That's where we need to be going. So my argument is pull everybody from left and right to the centres, the believers, the non-believers, have a sensible conversation, look at the statistics and go, right, it is what it is. However, to get ourselves out of the problem, let's use innovation. We're at a point where this is I honestly believe, looking at we had Rolls-Royce here 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago we had a delegation again from Rolls-Royce and Westinghouse looking at tidal, looking at the new blades, we're looking at lots of things. But we can power the whole area on 1 reactor the size of a football field. We can do a hydrogen unit here the size of a tennis court. I've just come back from Netherlands, where they run a hospital on the size of a tennis court from hydrogen. Okay, so the tech is there. So my argument is we need to stop all this silliness, the lefts and rights. It's just ridiculous. And the gentleman about the land, he's absolutely right. That's the land has the carbon, fact. What's ruined it is how we have farmed it. So change your farming techniques. It's that simple. Use innovation. So my point is, we are at an almost at a point of industrial revolution at the moment. There would be conversations like this happening back in the 18th century. You know, oh God, we've got steam. Wow, that's exciting. Oh, we've got petroleum. Oh, that's even more exciting. Oh, I'm not going to change my plough and my horse that drags all that stuff up. You know, what we have to do is realise we're at a point where we embrace innovation. You give me £21 million or whatever the budget is, I will make this island carbon-free, reduce costs for people with struggling with their bills, and away we go. So I think that's it. Anyway, thank you very much.
No, thanks, Simon. By the way, we're not disagreeing. I've never proposed hydrocarbons for Jersey. We don't have any hydrocarbons. Don't be ridiculous. That's not the answer. I think the best answer, first of all, is look at the price we're getting. The fundamental premise should be, what is the cost to the consumer? If we have a really good contract from France that we can't beat and it's locked up for 25, 30 years, then any new source has to compete with that price. But any new source, and it won't be oil and gas because we know that's too expensive in bringing it in. I'm a big fan of modular nuclear reactors, by the way. I also like some of the ideas we've got with tidal. The nice thing about tidal is it's continuous. You don't have the disrupts. But if these other ones could work, and solar panels on roofs and EVs, if people want to do it, I have no issue with any of that. I believe in freedom of choice, and I believe that the fundamental should be the economics driving it. All I'm saying, the whole purpose of this, is get rid of the boogie bear that CO2 is causing a problem. That's the only thing I'm doing, and then be open to all options. And when you say you want to be carbon neutral, I'm saying that's where we disagree, because I don't think that's the issue. That's the whole purpose of this talk. Well, it's also not my point I've tried to make is that's not the issue. It's like looking for your dime under a light post when you lost it in the dark alley. Go to where the problems are. Anyhow, but I completely agree. Any other comments?
Surely you want to look to the future too. I mean, because petrochemicals have been around for centuries, and also they are very polluting when you burn them. You want to get away from burning stuff, because when you burn stuff, you get all those PM 2.5s in the atmosphere, and it makes people ill, apart from anything else. So surely, if you're looking at saving money, you want a way of creating energy and a source of energy that doesn't impact people's health.
Just a quick fact, sorry, that's actually not true.
Is it not?
No, sorry, it's not true.
Okay, but regardless, your point though is valid.
When you have your car driving along.
No, NOx gases, we know how to take 100% NOx gases. PFAS, all the PFAS, we can clear PFAS 100% with technology. NOx gases are now coal is actually, strangely, one of the best substances to burn for density of power, and how you take the NOx gases out when it burns is the critical piece. You can stand by some of the new cars that run diesel, and you'll have more danger from the radiation off a lithium battery. Seriously, I mean, this is.
So let me just build a little bit on that. No, it's not that we're burning these things. We should absolutely get rid of the pollutants. Completely agree. Technology allows us now to do that more and more. My only point is that CO2 is not the part of the problem. If you realize we could be burning coal, and the only thing coming out after you clean it is CO2 and water vapor, mark my word, there will be a day when the coal industry in northern England will be revived and going full speed ahead, providing coal and cleaning it to the level that's guaranteed to be non-pollutant and other things. So I would let simply supply and demand and price, and I'm a great believer in the ingenuity of people and ability to do things, and let's allow them to do it. But don't put false barriers on things. That's the only reason I'm here.
Can I just add, I'm going to stop after this, I promise. CO2 is really important for island nations around the world for their growing and their subsistence. So there's a couple of farms here that import CO2 in tankers to put into their farms to grow our crops. Taking CO2 out into containers is a critical part of growing plants all over the world. And it's a huge industry. You can shake your head, but I can just show you 2 invoices.
It's for mostly for cannabis production and tomato production.
Yeah, but
cannabis is a exception. It's a very light intensive and CO intensive.
Yeah, I know.
Crop,
we provide power for.
I would disagree with that comment about the impact of CO2 on plants. Okay, go ahead. Yes, go ahead at the back.
General agriculture for greenhouse growing, absolutely.
Okay, I got another question. Sorry, another question.
Can
Yeah.
you say a bit more about diverting the funding for the carbon neutral roadmap to more practical things that will help children's health services?
Well, where do you even start with this? First of all, they're putting in, I think the price tag to ultimately get Jersey carbon neutral was hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't have, that's what it would take.
300 million.
300 plus million to get purely carbon neutral. All I'm saying is that's not the problem. Take, and so you could start, you heard, I think, Adrian, you mentioned some comments about prices that in the very short term they're spending. But just think if you took that money, and if you did nothing else, but if you're worried about climate, put it into mitigating the impact of it on Jersey. If you're worried that the tides or something's going to happen, take the money, instead of trying to reduce our minimal amount of CO2 when it's not happening anyway, take the money and use it to something that's practical and helpful. And I do believe if the money was out there and they looked at where's the best place to spend money, and you put all of the various elements, health, education, infrastructure, creating new businesses, etc., I think that money could be much better spent. And by the way, the other thing I like about the modular nuclear idea, which is my favorite for Jersey, is that if you did that and you had more power by doing it, if you got somebody else to come in and build it in a small bit of space that's required, that excess electricity could then be used to create an AI industry right here in Jersey. So it's a win-win, and then you get more people working, etc. So there's a nice win-win spin-off of doing that. But somebody's got to come in and present the case. Yeah.
This might be incorrect. I don't think it is, but I think France is building 9 new nuclear reactors.
7.
7 is it?
Yeah, total output 300 megawatt
You
power.
know, why would we want to compete with a country as sparsely populated and as large as France in terms of building nuclear reactors?
Well, you build it for your energy security because unfortunately Jersey is connected to France. The energy we get from France is excellent. It's all the things that everyone wants.
Well, we should be careful about being scared because one politician said they were going to cut us off. I would look at the quality of the contract. That's all, but I agree with you, actually, we should get it at the cheapest place.
On a daily basis working with EDF, so we know that the prices, what's going to happen and all that sort of thing. But the other issue we need to look at is we are on an island. Island security, the way the world is at the moment is a challenge. And you've got to be very careful, however great our friends are or not. You've got 3 cables, cut those cables and you've got 17 diesel engines on Jersey to give us the power. That's the reality. So what you have to then do is make sure you've got your own energy security on island to look after ourselves. It's as simple as that, and that's what we do for Vanuatu, who've got, we drill geothermal for them. Geothermal power, fantastic. Falklands, Skye, all these islands are looking for island security and power.
Well, I guess I don't disagree. I mean, I would take that back to the people of Jersey to decide. Yeah. But what I'd do is I'd say, okay, here's the price of your France contract. Here's the price you have to pay if you're going to get that security. And if it's 10 times higher, they may vote differently. So I would let the number. So it all depends. All these things, it really depends on the price. Go ahead. Yeah.
Graham, could you say something a bit more about how crazy it is to offer a £9,000 grant to change a homeowner's all central heating to electric when we don't have enough money for proper healthcare for children?
And adults.
I think you've already answered that one. That was a loaded question, and that's obvious. And by the way, all these subsidies for these people, who are actually getting the subsidies? It's the richer people. Like the whole thing is bonkers, but that's an obvious one, Go ahead, yeah, go ahead.
You're right. What the money that these up to 300 million that the states are saying they're going to spend, the hospitals have 1 and 2 years waiting lists in some of the departments. The machinery they need to spend a lot of money on the hospital and sort it out. People's health in Jersey matters. That needs to be one of the things they could spend some of that money on.
Well, I agree, but I would that's why we elect the politicians. Let them get together, say, okay, if you had this money, a good question for them would be, if you had this money and we took it out of this carbon neutral and we just pretend, recognize that the issue isn't CO2, but energy is very important. If you just gave it back to them and said, okay, now let's have the debate. Let's get everybody, put your best story forward. Let's look at it and see. But the bottom line is it has to impact the people of Jersey directly. That would be my only guideline. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, just to follow up on that question, it all comes down to soil in my point of view. If you've got healthy soils, you've got healthy plants and food and healthy people.
Completely agree.
Absolutely right.
So,
Completely agree.
if we could look at the argument and sort of like change it to a flow that can actually be measured and managed. In other words, emitters, it's measured somehow, and also anyone that's actually removing it through certain, soil sequestration actions and things like that can actually can be supported to do it. So young farm for example, hemp, if it's grown properly in decent soils, can grow a lot larger than hemp that's grown in very poor soils, and then it's sequestering a lot more carbon and bringing balance. And so all of this can be done locally, and the Kennebec is known as the hemp field, so we've got capacity.
Yeah.
And then following it through on bioenergy, I think Jersey does have the capacity to do that, and it would be a very cheap way of doing both. Improving food security and water security.
Absolutely right.
I think anything we can do to help the farmers in this island is fantastic.
The right type of
Well,
What's the wrong time?
go ahead, yeah?
Now, have you been too charitable to Jersey Met with the graph you showed? Just I compared that graph, they provide us with a pack for the states debate, and I compared Southern England, the tip of Southern England, with theirs, and then actually, I think Colin saw it, he's got a physics degree, they manipulated the graph, and they sort of, the old trick of depressing historic data and increasing, so it actually doesn't even match their own bands on the wall. Yeah. And of course, in fact, it's worse than that. And bearing in mind all the evidence, at what stage do you think we should prosecute the unscrupulous?
Well, my comment will be a little bit different than that. But I have, in my reading through and doing all this research and digging into it, I've found a number of cases where data has been manipulated, where messages have been manipulated. And that's cause for concern. But it happens not just in this domain, all over the place. So wherever you see it, we should challenge it and bring it out. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't finish my
Okay.
sentence. I was
Sorry.
going to say, prosecute them, not least for harming our children's mental health. I mean, I think even Professor Judith Curry, BBC had studies showing a high percentage have nightmares, and putting this sort of this fraudulent advert on a wall. This is all quite, let alone damaging the economy and agriculture and all this crackpot schemes. I mean, it is a big scam, as you say. It's a big fraud, isn't it? So, at what stage?
Well, it bothers me. You could say, no, it doesn't scare them, whatever. But, my big message is relax.
Yeah.
This isn't the end of the world. CO2 is not the enemy you're talking about. And there's lots of things we can do to do it. But the message to the children and our society is no. And no, it's not, we're not going to, Jersey's Island is not going to be flooded. And we're not going to, all this stuff. It's just not there. Go ahead, there's another question.
I was just going to say that I take exception to the previous comment. I'll declare my interest in that I used to work at Jersey Met, and I worked there for 40 years, collecting data, processing data, what have you. We did not manipulate data, we did not make up data. It is kosher data. Our stations were and still are inspected by competent people from outside, independent people from outside the island. It is not manipulated. So I just want to make that point. okay, as a person
No,
who used to
let's
work-
not get in an argument of that
Can I
specific
send you
data,
the
because
data? Can I send you? I've got graphs from Southern England. I showed it to my
We don't
physicist.
do Southern
no,
England.
but I will
No,
say, just a second. No, there's going to be cases, and we shouldn't be blaming.
Clear, because the states provided us with a pack with the graph, and it's quite easy to see all the peaks. And it's been definitely has been. So I don't think maybe it was provided to you manipulated. Maybe the data's some along the channel, but it definitely has been.
Well, the Met data provided by me is exactly what I used. I wasn't worried about it
We
at
never
all.
have recorded or kept
Yeah.
data for Southern England, we do it for Jersey.
No,
Yeah,
no, my comparison. It highlights the fact that you can see the graph as being depressed.
Okay, but you made your point. I got it. And by the way, your point about Met, I used it exactly because I thought it was great data. So I've used your data in my analysis. Absolutely. And I went right back. They were very helpful. They provided it. Very helpful group of people. I was very supportive of your organization. Yeah. Okay, yeah, any other?
Can I just ask, do you think methane is a climate, a greenhouse gas or not?
Yes, and by the way, it's more dangerous than CO2.
That is,
Yeah, but however, then put it in context. Do you realize what low percent methane is in the atmosphere? No, my point is,
Any climate, any...
okay, in the context of climate and greenhouse gases and methane as far as being, even though it has a bigger impact, its amount is so much smaller, you can't even see it or measure it. So it's one thing to say, oh, here's a molecule that's going to scare us, then look at the data and put it into context. That's what I tried to do here. So no, I wouldn't be worried about methane because it's so small in concentration levels globally and in the atmosphere that it doesn't play in that context. There may be other issues with methane, but not in that context because it's so small. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sure it's plenty to ask you, but I'm just interested when your graphs, you have a big red line saying a sort of death zone
Yes.
or whatever.
Yeah.
I just wondered, you said that humans producing CO2 sort of
Let me
stopped
see if
us
I
from
can
falling into
find
the
that.
death zone. So are you saying that 4.5 billion years of evolution would just stop because we didn't burn oil? Is that
No, of course not. I don't think, did anybody hear me say that?
You
No,
have
just a sec,
lines-
did anybody hear me say
You
that?
You said this. You said there's a line. It says like
Oh, I did say the line of death.
If it dropped off, if we hadn't
Okay.
stopped producing CO2.
Yes, I'll show you that graph. No, I didn't say that. That's not what I said. To be very clear, and it's taped and recorded, and I'll get you that graph. Just hold on, because this is important. Now, it may have, by the time I got there, it might have been another centuries later.
I've never heard before, so I'm interested to
Okay, all I'm saying to you, because this is true scientifically, if you go to 150 parts per million, plants can't grow. You can please Google and check that. Okay, then recognize that CO2 has been declining over time, had continued to decline, and so you can take your ruler and lay it out and see how long would it take before it went from 180 to 150. My point was, if it keeps declining, and it had been, it would eventually get to 150. Because it's declining, and it's close. At 180, it's close to 150.
But in 4.5 billion years of these cycles that you say exist, which I agree with you, carbon in the atmosphere and the temperature does cycle, but you're saying that without us producing
No,
CO2,
I didn't
it would
do
drop
it.
below 150, which doesn't make
Yeah,
any
I don't
sense.
think I ever said that.
You just did.
No, I didn't. What I said was, okay, what I did say is that, I'm trying to find the graph because that's a good graph. I like that.
So if it's diminishing, it's due to the
Oh, here's the one. Okay.
Well, it's just going to stop.
There we go. Okay, here's the dreaded line of the red. The fact is, if it reaches there at 150, plants will die. And the other fact on that graph is that it was getting close. It was declining. These are historical data. So all I'm saying is, as a scientist looking at graphs, I'm saying it's declining. It's now at 180, and at 150 is the line of death. I'm not saying that other things might happen that increase it. I'm not saying that there could be greater tectonics or other events and the CO2 level could go higher. All I'm saying is that mankind's emissions, what they did do is they moved it from that level of 180, which some people would say is getting pretty close, to 420 and remove that threat. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but that's the fundamental issue with what you're saying, is that humans stopped it from getting there. What I'm saying is that graph's at 160 million years. Do you really think that the human activity on this planet is what was needed to stop us from.
No, I didn't say that. What I said was, listen carefully to what I'm saying, because there's a difference here. What I said was, it was getting lower, and what the impact of mankind's emissions, which I agree, of added CO2, is it took it from that level of 180 to the level of 420. That's all I said. And that's a fact. I said mankind's emissions of CO2 has taken it from 180 to 420. And that was the point.
You are suggesting that without that, it would have kept.
I didn't say that. I said, here's your graph. Well, there's a trend. Anybody can make their own. Anybody can draw
You're
that.
scaring people by saying it's this red line of death.
I'm not scared.
I'm not scared.
Not scared.
All I'm saying is that is a fact. The 150 is a fact. You're saying it'll never happen? Well, maybe you're right. Okay. Sorry, let me get some different people.
Can I respond to that? If there's another the next ice age, could it bring it down because the ocean would absorb more CO2? Is there a possibility that it could have dropped below the line of death if there's?
Well, I would argue on your side that the last 40 haven't, so why would this one? You know, fair enough. We may not get there. No, I mean, it is down and it's getting close, but you know, who knows for sure. All I'm saying, we don't have to worry about that. That's all. That one's gone away. There were some questions at the back there that I want to make sure I hear from different people.
I just wanted to see raise of hands of the people who are scared. Or not scared. Let's put it that way. Not scared. Not scared.
Yeah, okay, just a sec. Go ahead.
We're not running out.
You're scared of fossil fuels?
Running out.
No.
Well, first of all, I'm a geologist, so I would say yes, they're running out. No, I would say yes, they are running. It's a finite resource. I've been wrestling with this my entire career, and I'm an oilman. But how fast is it running out? How many generations have we got? We've got a lot. We've got the reality with technology, as we've got into fracking and finding and digging deeper, we're finding more and more. So it's running out a lot slower than we thought. There were books in the 70s when price shot up, they thought we're going to run out, and that's what drove the price up, that fear. So I don't think we're going to run out in the near term. We eventually will if we keep using it. But I think what's going to happen, independent of fossil fuels, is new technologies like the ones that Simon's talking about. They'll just beat the hell out of oil and gas, and then you won't even have to worry about it. You know, technology and innovation will drive it. So it's not a government mandated thing. It's the real world getting out there and finding ways that are cheaper. And that will happen. And then fossil fuels will still be used, but they'll be making plastics and other things. And I think that's a good idea, personally. I think it's a waste burning it, but I'm not going to force that on people. I think it should be the freedom of choice of people, and there is quite a bit. You know, I keep looking around. There's still a lot to go. Pardon me? Yeah, I suspect there'll be enough for our grandchildren. Just to understand my understanding.
That makes it sound like only just.
No, I did not just. No, I'm saying it's probably. I think that the fear of running out of oil and gas will be replaced before that ever happens with new technologies replacing it. I'm a great believer in people and technology. So I don't think this fear will ever really materialize. I'm not sure I'm going to be around long enough to collect on that bet. My wife certainly hopes not.
You were saying, relax, global warming saves lives, so we need to chill out because it's she says up to 25%. 25 times some studies I've read, more people die from the cold than the heat. Even in Europe, and your graph showed it. So it's beneficial for mankind. And also the death through severe weather has dropped, as you know, by about 96% over the century. And that's a lot of modern technology, and you know, we can rescue people and we can treat people. So
yeah, no, I mean, when I go on holidays in the winter, I go to Mexico. I kind of like it warm. But you know, that's individual choices. The whole purpose of this wasn't to say all this. I just wanted to challenge some of the premises, you know, the fear of warm and all these things, and just say that the boogeyman isn't CO2. That's the only point. The hobgoblin, yeah, well, the proper terminology. The hobgoblin isn't CO2. That's the purpose of today's discussion. And what I hope is, as we move forward, we share this with our government officials and elected members, and then they consider maybe we should spend that money on other things that are more beneficial to all of you right here. And that's what I'm hoping to accomplish. Okay? I'm sorry the bar is only, it's probably, oh, there's another hand waving. It's my boss, so I better listen to this one.
I just want to acknowledge that, well done, first of all, Graham and Adrian, regardless of, your views on either side of the house. But I just want to mention that Graham did invite all of our States members to come and listen to this. And looking around the room, I can see Gabriel. Thank you very much, Gabriel. Because that shows that you actually care enough to come and listen to just as ordinary folk. And I commend you for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gabriel. Well, looks like we better start electing some more young ones. Okay, thank you all very much. Well, it's been a long night.